Hello everybody, this is tlfraseroh coming to you from Columbus, Ohio. Today is Monday, March 25th at approximately 2:35 p.m. I'm your ghost host for today. Thank you very much. And this is my first installment of TGHAT, Tina's Ghost Hunting Adventure Tube. I'd like to welcome you to my channel if this is your first time here. I hope you can find something that you can learn on this. This is my first installment of some ghost hunting videos that I hope to include for you. And I just kind of wanted to come to you today with a little bit of an intro video as to why I decided to add the ghost hunting aspect to my YouTube channel. Those of you that have been watching some of my other videos that I have uploaded in the last probably year and a half, 2 years that I've been doing YouTube videos have probably seen my cross-stitch videos and also my diamond painting videos. I am planning on adding some other crafts to my channel. I'm also a quiller, which is paper filigree. I also do other paper crafting type of crafts and stuff. I crochet as well, just stuff like that. But I kind of wanted to start this ghost hunting, I guess, section of my YouTube channel to kind of show you just some of the experiences that I have on my ghost hunting adventures. So, a little bit about me. I currently live in Columbus, Ohio, and I have been a very strong believer in ghosts since I was a little girl. I grew up in Southern California, and my mom and stepdad and I, we lived in a house when I was between the ages of about 9 and 12 to 14 that belonged to a family friend of my stepdad's. And unbeknownst to me, I didn't find this out until after we moved out of the house, I think because they didn't want to freak me the heck out. But the woman who owned the house, her husband had died in the house, and her husband and the woman were a really good friend of my stepdad's family. And his brother and sister lived in the house right next door. So when the house became up for rent, when the house came up for rent, my aunt and uncle contacted my dad and my stepdad and mom and said, I know you guys are looking for a place to live. It's right next door to us. And this is not long after my mom and stepdad got married. I was 7 at the time. So they contacted her, and she rented us the house. It was a really big house, huge 2-bedroom, 1-bath house. Had a big living room, dining, eat-in kitchen, a big laundry room, and a big den with a fireplace, a big backyard. It had a big garage, and out behind the garage was kind of like a mother-in-law suite. It had a little teeny kitchenette area, a full bathroom, and basically 2 rooms, one, like a front room and a back room that also had a closet. So it was actually kind of like a mother-in-law suite. Well, back behind the garage in that little mother-in-law suite, and the garage was a two-car garage. It was huge. It was a big house, big property, long driveway, went from the front of the house all the way to the back where the garage was at. Covered, carport kind of area. 2 side yards, one on this side of the house and one on the other side of the carport. It was just a huge house, and it was really great. Unbeknownst to me, her husband had died in the house. Her husband had cancer, and he had passed away in the house. I didn't find out until after we moved out that the room that he was in hospice, he had hospice, home hospice, and the room that he was in was my bedroom, and he passed away in my bedroom. And where my parents had placed my bed in the bedroom was also where his bed was. Now, growing up in the house, I know kids are usually pretty sensitive to a lot of stuff. And, you know, being between the ages of about 8 and 12, I was probably pretty more sensitive to a lot of stuff. But talking to my mom, kind of over the years, she had also had some experiences in that house. And there were some experiences that happened to me with my parents being in the house that I described to them that led my stepdad to believe that Mr. Knotts, the family friend that passed away in the house, had made himself known to me, and mostly to me, because I guess he liked kids really well. And, you know, being an older couple, you know, they probably had grandkids and stuff like that. So the fact that I was living in the house, you know, maybe he felt like he could show himself to me. And he actually showed himself to me quite often. Although, you know, some of the experiences scared me about half to death sometimes, because, you know, you're not expecting, you know, things to slide across the table and cupboard doors to open and to hear somebody with a limp walking in the carport at 11 o'clock at night when it's dark outside, wearing boots. I mean, it's very specific. There's very specific events that took place that when I described them to my stepdad and to my mom, my stepdad would just kind of step back a little bit and kind of look at me sideways and be like, I think you just saw Mr. Knotts. And of course, I never knew the gentleman that passed away, but so I've had experiences growing up with ghosts. And you know, I've had that experience where I'll be walking somewhere and a smell will just appear out of nowhere, and it'd be like my grandmother. My grandmother died in 1986 when I was a sophomore in high school. So to just like out of the blue, you know, 40 years later, smell my grandmother and know that's her. And the same thing with my grandfather. My grandfather passed away in 2008. There's been times when I've been walking through work and all of a sudden I'm like, that's my grandfather. My grandfather's here. What's my grandfather doing here? You know, that kind of thing. My husband and I, we have 5 cats now. We've had 6 cats. And the January after we bought our house in 2008, one of our cats, we came home one night from work and found one of our cats had passed away on the kitchen floor. And so, of course, you know, that night, middle of January, we're out digging a hole in the backyard. So our cat's buried in our backyard. And over the last several years, my husband and I have seen the cat. Just kind of out of the corner of our eyes, you know, we'll see a shadow, and we'll look over, and it'll be a tuxedo cat. The shadow is a shadow of a tuxedo cat, and it'll be walking, and it looks exactly like the cat that passed. His name was Reiki. He was a very special cat. He was just a really, really lovable kind of gray cat. And the morning that he died, he was following us around the house. He was perfectly healthy, no signs that he was sick, no nothing. We came home and found him passed away on the kitchen floor. And he'd apparently been dead a little while. Because when I noticed him, normally when I'd call his name, you know, he'd perk up and he'd wake up and get up and come over and want to be loved on. And well, he was laying there, kind of over near the dining room table in the kitchen, and I was getting something out of the fridge about 5 or 6 feet away, and I called his name and he didn't move. And so I shut the fridge, put what I had gotten out of the fridge on the counter, and went to walk over to him to try and wake him up. Maybe he was soundly sleeping. And I got about 3 feet away from him and stopped short because I noticed that he was laying in a puddle of pee. And he was laying on his side, and his tongue was out of his mouth like that. And he wasn't moving. And he wasn't breathing. And I backed up, and I started to freak out a little bit. My husband went downstairs for a few minutes because that's where his computer room and his game room and everything is. And he heard me kind of freaking out a little bit, and he comes running upstairs, and he sees me, and I'm backing up further and just shaking my head and shaking my head. He's like, what's wrong? And all I kept doing is pointing over towards the dining room table. And he looked over and he's like, Reiki. He walked over, and he went to move him, and he kind of stepped back, and he's like, he is cold and stiff as a board. So, he had essentially passed away. He'd been dead for quite a while. So he had passed sometime during the day, and Dylan got me a towel. I helped him get him off the floor, and we kind of cleaned him up as best we could. He was laying in his bodily fluids. It was kind of icky. And then so I had him wrapped up. Dylan went and got a shovel, and we both kind of just said a few words and kind of held him close, and then Dylan went out and dug the hole, and we buried him that night. But we've seen him in the house. I have actually seen him at work. He has visited me in my cubicle. He came and, rubbed against my legs under my desk at work. And he doesn't come around all that often. In fact, it's probably been several months since I've seen him. Dylan said that he saw him about 6 months ago in the basement. And we had another cat named Nico. We had to put her to sleep in February. She had been losing quite a bit of weight. Hasn't been eating, hadn't really been keeping her food down. So we've kind of been keeping her isolated in our spare bedroom. And it got to the point over one weekend when she couldn't even really, she was at the point where she couldn't really jump up onto the bed. Dylan had to lift her. Well, we went in there Friday night, and she couldn't even really stand up. He found her kind of laying in a puddle of pee. So he picked her up, we cleaned her off, we gave her a bath, we gave her a nice warm bath, we put her up on the bed, we spent a lot of time with her over that weekend, and we decided Sunday night that on Monday morning we would take her in and put her down. She was a cat that we had taken in. She had a litter of kittens under our front porch. We started feeding her and the kittens to get them nourishment, and she would kind of let us pet her, but she wouldn't let us get close to her kittens. And then she and the kittens disappeared for a little while. About 3 or 4 weeks later, she showed back up because she knew she could get food at our house. And she had no kittens with her, but we fed her, and she became really friendly with us. She let us pick her up. We could hold her, and then we decided that we would get her fixed. Knowing that she'd already had kittens under our porch, we decided that she's a neighborhood cat. We'll get her fixed. We'll let her back out once her incision and everything healed. She decided that she liked it better indoors, so she became an indoor cat. And then she, over the years, she got sick. We probably had her 5 or 6 years. But she used to stay in the spare bedroom, and she would sit at the door and meow. Since we've put her down, I have heard her meow quite a few times, sitting, because I don't know if you can see, but let me see if I can show you this. Pardon the camera, but so I'm in my living room. Front door. Our front door is that way. Don't mind the mess. But through our living room, you can see there's the hallway, and the open door is the bathroom, and across from the bathroom, the curtain hanging in the doorway is our bedroom, and the one with all the shoes on it is the spare room that Nico was in. So sitting in my stitchy chair, this is where I sit and craft. All my crafting supplies are right next to me, avid cross stitcher and everything. Anyway, I actually have heard her meow. It's probably more of a residual noise than anything else, but I have heard her specific meow. She had a real specific meow. She was a calico, and I will actually put pictures of both her and Reiki. If I can find the pictures of Reiki, I will include Reiki, but I will put Nico's picture here too, a couple of hers that I have. But I have heard her meow since we've put her down. And there's been once or twice when I've come out of the bathroom and looked under the door and saw a shadow. that shouldn't be there, because none of our other cats really go into that room. Because we always keep that door locked or shut. We don't keep it locked, we keep it shut. We have to go in there and kind of finish cleaning up in there, because she had issues keeping food down and stuff like that. So there's some final cleaning that we have. We've gone in there and cleaned several times since she's been gone, but we just need to fully move all the furniture away from the walls and just do all a really good spring deep cleaning in there. But I have seen the shadow under the door, because there used to be carpet in the house, but the bottom of the doors are about this high off the hardwood floors because of the carpet that used to be down. So I have seen a shadow in there of like a cat kind of sitting up against the door, and I have heard meowing. It hasn't been very common, but it's been a little faint. So I have had experiences growing up and in my adult life, and I 150% believe that there are ghosts and ghosts exist. And so this is just kind of my installment, or my video, whatever you want to call it, of just some of my ghost experiences that I have, a little talking about some stuff, and just a little background of some of the things that have happened to me. Now, we live on our little section of the street on our side. We're the middle of 3 houses before an apartment complex. There's a corner, a house, our house, another house, and an apartment complex. And the house on the corner, 2 of our neighbors that have lived there have died since we've bought the house in 2007. In 2008, our friend Craig, we got to know him really well. We used to go over to their house and have barbecues. They would come over here and have barbecues with our friends, and we'd talk and drink. We'd chat over the fence. We'd go over to their house on a Saturday night, sit out on their back patio, and drink a couple beers with them. We got to know Craig and his wife Kat very well, and Kat had, they both had their phone number just in case, they needed to go out of town and they needed somebody to look after their house. We would wander over there. We knew where they hid their keys, so we could, kind of wander over and, take care of some stuff for them if they needed it. We would, shovel their driveway and their walkway, and they would shovel ours. And it was just a nice relationship and a nice friendship that we had made when we first moved into the house. And so the Sunday of Labor Day weekend, I believe this was also in 2008. Might have been 2007. I don't remember exactly. The Sunday of Labor Day weekend, the phone rings at like 7:45 in the morning. Nobody calls our house at 7:45 in the morning on a Sunday. It was Kat. She was upset. I answered the phone. She was upset. As soon as Dylan found out it was Kat, we were both dressed and over there in less than 5 minutes. Kat couldn't wake Craig up. He'd gotten up to go to the bathroom. It was 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. Went back to bed. She couldn't wake him up. The squad worked on him for about 45 minutes and couldn't revive him. He'd had some high blood pressure issues and stuff that he wasn't seeking medical attention for. And so anyway, he passed away that morning. That was a tough, very tough week. Tough several weeks, because we kind of helped Kat through a very tough time. She didn't exactly make it out, but I've seen him on occasion. Like my front craft room that's past the open bathroom door over there. That is my like craft junk room. I think I've shown it a couple of times on a couple of my other videos, but the one window that's out that side of the house looks into their bedroom window, what was their bedroom window. And there have been times when I have looked, I've been looking out the window to look at the weather, because our house is fairly close to ours right there. And there's about 4 or 5 feet between our two houses. And I've looked across, and then, like, really quick, like, through the blinds in the window, I can see him. He's looking at me. He looks at me, and he kind of smiles, and then he disappears. I've seen him a couple of times. Yeah, and Kat, when Kat was still living there, she would come over to visit. She would come over for, like, you know, to get some cigarette money or to bum some, like, flour, sugar, to, you know, see if we had any extra food, because she was having a little bit of a tough time dealing with Craig's death. And she would come over, and she was always telling me stories about how, like, she would be sitting on the couch, and then she'd feel Craig's arm kind of wrap around her, and he'd sit there and kind of stroke her shoulder or play with her hair. And on occasion when she would come over, he would come over with her, and there were times when I could feel him stroke my arm, or he'd grab onto my arm and just give it a squeeze, like a thank you squeeze, or like, hi, how are you squeeze. There was once or twice I could feel a hand just gently touch my cheek. He did that to me a couple of times. It wasn't like our term of endearment or anything, but every once in a while I'd feel a hand, when she was over, I'd feel a hand just kind of touch my cheek. You know, and he'd let me know that he was there, and he was thanking me for being supportive of her. So yeah, I mean, I've had experiences myself. No one can tell me that ghosts don't exist, because I 150% firmly believe and know, just based on my own experiences, that ghosts do exist, and they can interact with you. And some of them probably don't know they're dead. That is what has sparked my interest in just, you know, all things paranormal, ghosts, everything like that. I've always watched ghost hunting shows. Some of my favorite ghost hunting shows are Taps. I used to watch Most Haunted. That's the English show, with the lady, I forget her name, Cat Cora. No, not Cat Cora. That's somebody else. But I can't remember their name. Anyway, I used to watch Most Haunted. The thing that drives me nuts about Most Haunted is they freak out a little too easy when they're experiencing things, and it's kind of really distracting. They also have a tendency to use a Ouija board. Now, I do have to say that I do own a Ouija board. It's down in the basement. I haven't taken it out of the box. I used to play with Ouija boards. It used to be a slumber party thing back in California when I was growing up. You know, we'd kind of make a little Ouija board on the kitchen floor, like with letters and numbers, and you use a glass. And it was kind of more of a slumber party game than anything else. We really didn't take it seriously. Nothing ever happened to any of us when we did that. I do own an actual Ouija board. I have never actually used the one I own. I've taken it out of the box to look at it, but I haven't really used it. It is in the basement. I think they can be useful, but I think they can also be dangerous and a little misunderstood. So I'm not one to play with it by myself. And I don't understand it well enough to want to use it regularly. I just don't want to cause problems that some of the people say it could cause. I do own one. I don't use it though. My husband, he doesn't care that we have a Ouija board in the house. He's just like, okay, it's just kind of another game. It kind of goes with our game collection. So it sits down in the basement. So anyway, it's a little background about me. Yeah, we used to play games, slumber party games. Like, I don't know if you guys know, there was this game that we used to play called Light as a Feather, Stiff as a Board. And so the premise of the game, it was a slumber party game that we used to play. The premise of the game is somebody would lay down, on their back, just kind of stiff, pretend to go to sleep. Everybody would sit around them with 2 fingers up underneath their body, just kind of laying on the floor. Somebody would be at the head, again with like 2 fingers under the head. And then whoever was at the head would basically give the person a name and talk about how they died. And then, we'd always do this either in candlelight or in a completely dark room with 1 or 2 night lights plugged into the wall or something. So it was like really dark, really eerie. Or like if we had a fireplace in the room, fireplace would be lit, and we'd just use the fireplace glow to light up the room. But as the game would go, the person laying on the floor would be eulogized essentially by the person at the head. And then so the person at the head would, kind of say something about their life and about how they died and this, that, and the other thing. And then when she thought she was ready, she would say, okay, we're now going to say light as a feather, stiff as a board, and lift you up. And so, it would take a few minutes, and a good majority of time it wouldn't work. But anyway, everybody would be kneeling with their fingers underneath them, and everybody would be kind of lightly chanting, light as a feather, stiff as a board, light as a feather, stiff as a board. And then they'd try and raise the dead person off the floor. It was a slumber party game, you guys. But there was one time when we were doing that, it is really creepy. In Mr. Knotz's house, I had a slumber party, and we were down in the den with the fireplace going. We got the person almost 3 feet off the floor before we were freaked out enough that a couple of us nervous giggled, which caused the person that we were lifting off the floor to freak out. And the whole entire thing was broken. But we got her it was probably almost like 2.5 feet off the floor doing this. It freaked us all out. And those of us that were at this slumber party, it was my birthday party. Those of us that were at this slumber party, we were a little freaked out. And we used to play this game all the time because it never worked, we're just like, oh, it's harmless, But when we got the person like 2 to 2.5 feet off the floor, we were all just like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. We were all freaked out. And we didn't play the game ever again, I don't think. But yeah. So that was a little weird. So I've done the childish, play these games. There's also like the Bloody Mary game, where you go into the bathroom and you like hold your eyes closed and you say Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, and you open your eyes and you look at the mirror in the bathroom and you're supposed to see Bloody Mary, whoever that's supposed to look like. That we played all those kind of games growing up, and just stuff that you never really believed in, and you thought was just kind of like a funny slumber party game. But yeah, the light as a feather, stiff as a board was kind of one of them. And so I kind of grew up thinking that there were some things there, and just my experiences in Mr. Knotz's house kind of also led me to believe that ghosts do exist. Some of the experiences that I had in that house, so my mom wasn't working full-time at that point in time. She was only working during the day. Pardon me for a minute, I'm going to get a drink of tea. I am drinking, this is Bijlo cinnamon stick tea. Drinking it out of my Making Friends One Stitch at a Time I Love Cross Stitch mug. But anyway, so Mr. Knotz's house was a great house. You could walk from the living room into the kitchen, down into the den, through the den, into my bedroom, into the hallway, down the hallway, past the bathroom and my parents' bedroom, and back into the living room. So you could actually make a loop through the house. Now, whenever we would move furniture or decorate for Christmas or anything like that, we would hear creaks in the house start from the front door, go through the living room into the kitchen. The step down into the den would creak from the kitchen. It would creak again near my bedroom. There were 2 sliding doors, one out of the kitchen into the den and one into the den from my bedroom. 2 glass sliding doors. We always kept those open. well, I think my parents always kept the kitchen one closed, but I always kept the one open. But anyway, the step would creak down into the den. A couple seconds later, the step would creak into my bedroom, and I could hear the creak past the closet, which was right next to the sliding glass door, and then into the hallway and down the hallway and into the kitchen. Sometimes it would circle like 2 or 3 times and then be quiet. Mr. Knotts died of lung cancer. So my stepdad at the time, he smoked pipes. His pipes and his tobacco would just randomly disappear. And they would show up a couple weeks later in spots that he didn't put it. Like, on a shelf above the washer and dryer in the laundry room. My dad very rarely went into the laundry room. He didn't keep any of his smoking supplies in there. So why would he hide his pipe and tobacco there? He always kept his supplies on the coffee table in the living room. And sometimes his supplies would end up missing. And there was one time he found it, he would find it down by the fireplace in the den. And we didn't use the den all that much. We didn't use the fireplace. We used the fireplace on Christmas. We used the fireplace for, like, if I had sleepovers. Once in a while in the wintertime, if it was cold and blustery outside, California, we didn't get snow. We were in Southern California. So it would sometimes be rainy. Once in a great while, they'd light a fireplace on a Saturday afternoon, and we kind of hang out there and play games or whatever, play board games. But, it would end up in random places in the house. One time he found it buried under towels in the hallway linen closet. Yeah, he never used to put his stuff away. But Mr. Knotts used to, kind of hide things. I was sitting at the breakfast table in the kitchen one morning waiting for school. I had gotten myself a bowl of cereal, and there was like some little creamer dish or sugar dish or something sitting on the table, and it slid about 1.5 feet. While I was sitting there, I was like, that's a little odd. And I also used to have cupboard doors in the kitchen open on me, and then they would slowly open, and then they would kind of shut, and they would usually shut farther than they were originally. Like, sometimes the cupboards, they would stay open about like this, a couple inches. It would open, and then it would shut, but it would shut all the way. So that would be a little weird. And it was sometimes in the middle of the day, sometimes late at night, whatever. My mom used to bake bread. She used to make homemade bread when I was away at school. She worked part-time at one of the local grade schools as a playground kind of person, a playground monitor or whatever, for recess and stuff. And so she was home during the day, and a lot of times she would make homemade bread and, just be cooking dinner and stuff. And she would have stuff slide across the countertops. She would see cupboard doors open. Nothing would ever really fall out. We had a couple of plastic Tupperware kind of things. She said every once in a while that would fall out onto the floor. And, she'd seen some things too. And so one of the biggest things that kind of actually freaked me out a little bit, all my toys and stuff used to be in the in-law suite behind the garage. So I used to, I knew where the key to the garage was. There was a locking door with a deadbolt. I would walk through the garage, open up the door, go in there. My mom knew I was over there playing. I'd always tell my mom, I'm going to play. She's like, okay. All my toys were kind of back in there, all my Barbies, all my Fisher-Price toys. I had a record player and stuff back in there. It had a black and white TV back there, so I could turn on the TV if I wanted to watch it. There was a bathroom back there, so I could go to the bathroom. There's a little sink so I could get some water and stuff like that. So I had my kind of own little playhouse sort of thing. And so the front room was basically like the guest bedroom. There was a bed in there, a dresser, stuff like that. And then that's where the bathroom and the kitchenette was. And then big open area in the back was where all my toys and everything was. So I could kind of leave that. as messy as I wanted to, and we could shut curtains or something to block that off if we had people staying over at our house. They'd basically have their own little like apartment back there, where they could come and go as they wanted to. And off of my play area, there was a closet. Now, it was kind of a deep closet. It wasn't really like necessarily a walk-in closet, but there was a kind of like a little storage room that was about the size. I mean, you could probably put a toilet in there, and that's about it. But it was a long closet. And the door to that was always locked. My parents always told me that they hid the key for the door because they didn't want me going in any of the boxes in there. They had stored stuff in there, and I'm not even sure to this day what they had stored in there. But anyway, so my mom told me that they would never let me in there. If there was something that I was looking for, come ask them, because that's where it might be, but they didn't want me getting in there. So to this day, I don't know why they didn't want me going in that little room. But the door was always locked, and I always had something kind of hanging off the door, like a bag or yarn or string or something. There was always something that I had hanging on the doorknob, because what else was I going to do? I couldn't get in there, right? So there was one day I was sitting in there playing, and I think I was listening to a record on my record player or something, and the music had stopped, and then I started hearing a clicking noise, and I couldn't quite figure out why I was hearing this clicking noise. I mean, it was kind of a loud clicking noise, and I just couldn't think of it. And then, so I went to get up to go to the bathroom, and the clicking noise just got more. It was like click, 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 click. I mean, it was loud and a lot and fast. And I looked over, and the doorknob was doing this back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I was the only one in there. I was a little freaked out because the doorknob really was doing this back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Click, 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 click. And then it would stop. And then we go click, 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 click. Click, 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 click. Like somebody was trying to turn the doorknob. Freaked me the heck out. So I went over to the doorknob, and I was like, stop it. I'm not allowed to open the door. Don't do it. Just go away. Leave me alone. I can't open the door for you. The door is locked. All of a sudden, the door popped open and opened about 6 inches. And there was nobody there. Absolutely nobody there. The door opened about 6 inches. And so I touched the door handle. The door handle was cool. It was oddly cool, but it wasn't like freezing. The doorknob was oddly cool. So I tested the doorknob, and the doorknob was still locked. I tested it from the other side. It was still locked. So I shut it again to lock it, made sure I couldn't open the door. The door was locked. The door was locked. To this day, I don't know how the heck the door came open, and I don't care. But I ended up not playing back there for about 2 or 3 weeks. My mom thought it was a little funny that, like, I came in the house and I wouldn't really talk about why I was done playing. And she thought it was also really funny why I wouldn't go back there for 2 or 3 weeks. It took me 2 or 3 weeks to go back there, but, I was fine. So later on that summer, I had a friend down the street. Her name was Maria. We were in the same grade. I used to play with her and her two younger brothers. Her older brother was in high school. Her older brother was named George, and I forget her 2 younger brothers' names, but Maria was in my class. Maria used to come over a lot. She was Mexican. She would come over a lot and play. Her mother was great. Her mother didn't speak English, but every time I went to play over there, her mom was always making homemade flour tortillas, and they were the bomb. Oh my God, they were so good. So her mom would always feed me tortillas with butter every time I went over there. It was awesome. I loved those homemade tortillas. But anyway, Maria and I were playing in the back. We were playing Barbies and doing all kinds of stuff. We had all this stuff laid out everywhere, and she'd been over pretty much all day long, and we were just playing. And we we were both kind of thirsty. So I was like, all right, well, let me go in the house and see if we have any snacks and some drinks and stuff, and I'll bring some stuff out. So I went into the house, went to the bathroom, did a couple things, got a couple things together, and I was heading back through the laundry room to exit the house, and I walked down the stairs, and all of a sudden I saw Maria standing under the carport, white as a ghost, completely white as a ghost, looking back at the open door in the back of the garage where the in-law suite play area was. And I was like, Maria, are you okay? And she just kept shaking her head no. I was like, do you want to play? She's like, no, let's go have snacks. She's like, I'm not going back there. I'm not going back there. And so I was like, okay, well, where do you want to go? I was like, we can go over to your house. And she's like, yeah, let's go to my house. I mean, she was a little weird. So we went back to her house, and, you know, she calmed down, and we ate, and, you know, everything was fine. And a little while later, just a few days later, it might have been even a couple weeks later, I was talking to her about it. I was like, do you want to come over and play? And she's like, I don't ever want to go back in that room ever again. And I'm like, why? What happened to you? And she had this same experience of the door handle turning and the door opening. And she knew, too, that that room was always locked, and that I wasn't in there with her. Nobody else was in there with her. And the door opened on her. And then the door shut. And it freaked her out. So she never went back in there. So, yeah. I mean, I've had ghost experiences. So that is why I decided to kind of do this little thing. So a couple of things that I kind of wanted to, I don't think I have any notes on here. I don't think I have any notes out here for you. Nope. So one of the things that I kind of want to do with these TGHAT installments on my YouTube channel, you know, kind of show you some of the experiences that I've had recently on some of the ghost hunts that I've been on. I went on my first actual ghost hunt back in May of 2017. I went on one last year, and then I went on one in February this year. It's been a fun experience, you guys, and I'm really hoping to go on more. I'd really like to find kind of a local paranormal investigation group here to hook up with so I can go on more ghost hunts. It's something that I'm always interested in. I'm just interested in documenting my experiences and getting actual footage of some of the stuff that I have for you. But I'm hoping with some of my TGHAT installments to show you some of the evidence that I collect along the way, talk to you about stuff, show you some of the equipment that I've kind of acquired in the last couple of years, because I've actually added to my equipment thing. My husband, he builds computers here at a local computer shop, and they get a lot of recycled electronics equipment in here, so he's actually been able to get me like I used to have a Sony Handycam little camcorder that had night shot. Our house got broke into twice in the span of a month back in 2008, again in 2008, and quite a bit of our electronics equipment was taken at that point in time, including the video cameras that I had. So over the last couple of years, they've gotten a couple of video cameras with night shot capabilities on them, and my husband has brought them home for me to play with. And, you know, obviously, I've kept one of them. So, you know, this is going to be a little video to show you some of my ghost hunting equipment that I've kind of acquired over the last few years. Just some of my experiences that I have had, and just to show you some of the evidence that I personally have captured amongst my past ghost hunting excursions and my hopefully quite a few upcoming ghost hunting excursions. I don't know how often I'll be posting these types of videos, but I'm going to be using the labeled TGHAT, which stands for Tina's Ghost Hunting Adventure Tube, unless I just come up with a better name. You know, I got the ghost host hat. I have friends, some local friends of ours who go down to Disney World all the time. They brought me this ghost host hat back from the Haunted Mansion down in Walt Disney World in Florida. I grew up in Southern California, so I used to go to Disneyland several times a year. Disneyland's way expensive now. It's like $100 a day for a ticket. It's really expensive. My parents still live out in California. We're hoping to go out to California for Christmas this year. But yeah, I've had quite a few experiences, personal experiences with ghosts and everything in my 48 years here on Earth. And this is just some of the stuff that I hope to bring to you. Just stuff that you can see, experiences. I recorded a video back in February when I went on the ghost hunt at the People's Bank Theater in Marietta, Ohio. I recorded a video just showing some of the equipment that I have and that I've acquired along the way. So that's probably going to be my next little installment. Since I recorded that in February, I'll probably be uploading that not too long after I upload this one for you. I have some... I captured some evidence, actually. The first actual true ghost hunt I went on was back in May of 2017. My in-laws used to live in Williamstown, West Virginia, which is across the Ohio River from Marietta, Ohio. Marietta, Ohio was the first Ohio settlement back in like the 1800s. Maybe even the 1700s, but there's a lot of haunted history down in Marietta, Ohio. If you're interested in that kind of thing and you ever want to go, I suggest you look up Hidden Marietta. It's the paranormal investigative group down in Marietta. Their offices are in the location known as the Anchorage, which is also a haunted location. That's the ghost hunt I went on last year. I went to the Anchorage and did a couple-hour ghost hunt there. And then this year was the People's Bank Theater in downtown Marietta, Ohio. All three of the ghost hunts that I've been on so far have been in Marietta, Ohio, because that's where the in-laws lived. My husband can go down there and visit with his dad, and then I can go on my ghost hunt. We'd have a free place to stay, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, my in-laws have since passed away. They both passed away last year. And their house also had a ghost, and I've experienced things there, too. I don't know if either one of them are there, but chances are likely they could be. I'd really like to investigate their house, but I don't know how agreeable the family would be to that. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so a lot of my ghost hunting experience so far has been down in Marietta, Ohio, with the Hidden Marietta group. They're a nice group of ladies. They have quite many years' experience under their belt. They have equipment that you can borrow. They host events all the time. It's really great, really wonderful. Lots of haunted locations in Marietta, Ohio. Lots of them. So if that's something that piques your interest, I would suggest maybe you look up Hidden Marietta and Marietta, Ohio, to if you happen to be in the area and you want an experience. That would be probably a good place to look. But anyway, so my first ghost hunting experience was in May 2017. We went to the Betsy Mills Club in Marietta, Ohio, and I captured some EVPs for you. And I'm not going to show you that here. This is just my intro video, but that's going to be another video coming soon. Once I recompile all the video footage that I captured, I will actually kind of put that there and ask for your feedback, because wow, yeah, I totally did not expect that. And I was reviewing the video footage like a week or two later. I was reviewing all the footage that I had recorded on the overnight stay at the Betsy Mills Club. Holy cow, people. I was blown away. But yeah, so I'll be adding that video here soon. I still have to finish reviewing. I know it's been like at least a month. I still have to finish reviewing the video evidence all the evidence that I recorded at the People's Bank Theater ghost hunt in February this year. Haven't quite finished the review of all that yet. I may just put it out there, even if I don't think I've captured anything, just so you can kind of get an idea of like what goes on in some of these ghost hunts. It's pretty interesting, you guys. If you ever have a chance to go on a ghost hunt, go on one with a group that has equipment that you can borrow, and that'll kind of show you the ins and outs and the ropes of ghost hunting and stuff. Because some of those TV shows that you may be watching, a lot of it tends to be fake. Like one of the big ones that I kind of roll my eyes at a lot is Ghost Adventures with Zach. And that's not my favorite show. My favorite show actually is TAPS, Ghost Hunters. They're no longer being filmed because there was just some issues, so they're no longer being filmed. They might be coming back to a channel near. They used to be on the Sci-Fi Channel, but Grant Wilson used to be part of TAPS. Now, Grant Wilson left the show because there was some, it was just interfering with his life too much. And he actually took on another role and is now doing some other things. He records and publishes his own piano music. His piano music is spectacular. So you can look up Grant Wilson piano music. You can find him on Facebook. He's a really nice guy. I've met Grant several years back, about the time he left Ghost Hunters. He and a friend of his had started designing board games. And here in Columbus, there's this board game convention every June called Origins Game Fair. And about, I want to say probably 6 or 7 years ago now, maybe it might even be closer to 10, he and his friend Mike Ritchie came to Origins with their games to sell board games. So I actually got to meet Grant Wilson, and ever since then, every time I see him, we always hug, we always talk. He's so down to earth, you guys. Don't like go crazy and like completely fangirl or whatever over him, but he is so down to earth. He is one of the nicest people, and he will talk to you and give you advice, and he's just so down to earth. So if you ever get a chance to meet Grant Wilson, likely you're gonna if you follow any of the like the paranormal investigation things, I know he's been to the Queen Mary quite a few times with a couple of groups to help them investigate. He goes all over, and he'll do special appearance investigations and stuff. He's a really nice guy though, and I haven't actually had the chance to investigate with Grant. I'd really like to. I think that would be a lot of fun. But yeah, Grant Wilson is really nice though. His company makes really good board games. His board game company is called Rather Dashing Games, and I will put some links to them below. But he actually makes board games now, and he does artistic work, and he also publishes piano music. I mean, Grant is a really nice person. He's one of the only recent paranormal investigators that I have had the chance to meet. And if the rest of the people on the Ghost Hunter show are like Grant, I would hands down continue to watch Ghost Hunters if they were still on, because they're top-notch people. And Grant is just he'll talk to you straight up about stuff, and he's just a really nice person. So anyway, that being said, this is going on an hour. Boy, I've talked a lot this hour about me. Well, I hope you liked my introductory TGHAT episode on my YouTube channel. If you kind of are interested in some of the other information that I have and that I'll be presenting here soon, just click the subscribe button and the little notification bell, and you'll be notified when I upload new content. Now keep in mind that I don't have a separate channel for my stitching and my diamond painting and whatever other crafts I tend to come up with, but I will be labeling the videos so you can tell which ones are which. My floss tube videos are for cross stitching and stitching in general. DP videos are for diamond painting. And if I do any other crafts, I'll probably do crafting with Tina or something like that. But all the ghost hunting videos that I put on my YouTube channel will be labeled as TGHAT, which stands for Tina's Ghost Hunting Adventure Tube. So unless I change that little catchy thing, that's where you'll see the ghost hunting videos. So if you're interested in some of the ghost hunting things, you just want to chat or whatever, let me know. Leave your comments and questions below in the box, the description below. I will do my best to answer any questions for you. Now keep in mind, I'm not an expert. I'm not any kind of SME on ghost hunting. I am a person who has had experiences, who is really interested in anything relating to paranormal investigating and ghost hunting because of the experiences I had. I have no background. I have no training. I have no special tools. I've only been on 3 ghost hunts. 3, and they were ghost hunts led by other groups. So this is just me capturing my evidence and just showing you what I find. If I find anything, who knows? But this is just something that's really close to my heart, and it's something that I believe in. So if you like this, be sure to subscribe. Click the notification bell again if you want to be notified when I upload new content. Thank you so much for listening, and please know that I'm not trying to do this as a, any kind of expert in the field of ghost hunting, in the field of paranormal, whatever. This is just me and my experiences and why I'm doing this. And so I hope you take that literally, that, I'm not doing this as an expert. I'm doing this because it's something that's interesting to me. So, and maybe it's interesting to you and maybe not. But, just keep that in mind. As far as your likes and dislikes, if you give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down, thank you very much. I really appreciate all the input. If you leave a question, I'll try and answer to the best of my ability. I may not always know the answer, and I may have to tell you, look it up for yourself, because that's all I'll be doing is probably looking up information for myself to help you. So if you're kind of questioning something, do a Google search. Maybe you can find something that'll help me out too. So hey, this is just going to be kind of collaborative and just a kind of a give and take, share kind of installment. So anyway, I hope you can find something useful here. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I know this is an hour-long intro video, but hopefully you can kind of glean something from this. Anyway, that's all I have for now. Oh, I'll kind of do that little bit later. Anyway, Thank you again for subscribing. Thank you for watching. And like I said, if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Hey, I like them all. To me, dislikes aren't bad things. So take care, and until the next installment, keep your eyes open, because there's something else out there with you, and you just might see it, because we're never really truly alone. All right, so take care. Catch you next time. Bye-bye.